Welcome to the Max Rady College of Medicine session of the 138th Spring Convocation of the University of Manitoba. My name is Mcbain, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies this morning. An announcement, you see the photographer here, and he's the only guy who gets to walk around in front. I know you all want to take pictures, but we ask that you do it from your seats so that the view of the stage is not blocked. Those cell phones of yours, well, they need to find their silent status. You will be welcomed to attend a reception following the ceremony. Students will recess to the reception area in the J.A. Hildes Court and the Joe Dupe Concourse in Level 2 of the Basic Medical Sciences Building. Please plan to meet your graduate in the reception area. I would like to welcome the guests seated here in front of me, who are special guests of the president of our university. And also, I'd like to extend a welcome to the department heads and faculty members of the Max Rady College of Medicine and the Rady Faculty of Health Sciences, who have joined us today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you've come for, please rise for the entrance of the academic procession and our graduating students. Now, graduates, I'd ask that you please rise for the arrival of the Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba, the Honorable Janice Filman and the Honorable Gary Filman, and please remain standing for the Vice-Regal salute. Please now join Meredith Penner, accompanied by Caleb Young, both of the 2017 Max Rady College of Medicine graduating class, in the Singing of O Canada, and then remain standing for the traditional honor song given by Justina McKay.
Please be seated. Your Honors, Your Excellency, graduands, friends, and family, welcome and good morning. I want to acknowledge a number of special guests who are with us today. First, to acknowledge the University Chancellor, Mr. Harvey Sector, but also on our platform today, Ms. Beth Beaupre, Assistant Deputy Minister, Department of Health and Workforce, Dr. Anna Ziomek, Registrar of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba, Dr. Mmcf, previous honorary degree recipient and President Emeritus, Dr. Alan Ronald, previous honorary degree recipient, Dr. Arnold Neymark, President and Dean Emeritus, Dr. John Wade, Dean Emeritus, Mrs. Kim Metcalf, past President of the Alumni Association, Mr. Rennie Zagulski, Chair of the Board of Governors. Also on the platform are members of the administration of the university, deans, associate and assistant deans, who've played an important role in the achievements that we'll celebrate today. Thank all of you for being here. As President of the University of Manitoba, it's my privilege to declare this session of convocation to be formally open. The University of Manitoba campuses are located on original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. I thank Justina McKay for sharing the honor song today. We are here to celebrate the result of many hours of hard work on the part of the 113 women and men graduating today as physicians. And for many of us, and for me in particular, it brings a special pleasure to be able this morning to address you, the class of 2017, as the first class to graduate from the newly named Max Rady College of Medicine, and the first to graduate in the university's series of convocations in this 140th anniversary year. So congratulations. From what I know and what I've heard of you, from your dean and others, you wear that new Rady name well, and we're proud of what you're doing under that name. It's a name deep with meaning for this university and this community. A year ago, many of you will recall, we came together to celebrate 2016's physician graduates and an unprecedented gift from University of Manitoba alumnus Ernest Rady. At that time, we named this college and the faculty of which it's part in honor of Mr. Rady's family. The name fit because the Rady family has demonstrated across generations a deep commitment to serving the public, and because Ernest Rady's father, Max, served this community over several decades as a devoted and caring physician. I'm confident you'll carry with you the dedication and altruism embodied in this new name as you discover your own paths to rewarding and meaningful careers in healthcare. As a community, we thank you for the intense commitment you've made to a profession that's so critical, literally, to today's society's well-being. We'll be relying on you to heal and comfort us, to advise us, to protect us. And we're all privileged that you, the graduands, have taken on this responsibility. I want also this morning to congratulate our honorary degree recipient, about and from whom you'll hear more in a few moments. The word altruism that's expected of you as physicians is something Her Excellency Sharon Johnston lives with every day. We're fortunate at this university celebrating its 140th birthday, and in this nation marking its 150th, that inspirational figures abound in our country. Of course, I encourage you to carve your own paths and to make your own names in the world. We're all ready to be astounded by your achievements. So much for the formal remarks. A word or two to friends and family. This is an unusual day, you will know, if you've heard the people you're here to celebrate with talk about their usual experiences on this campus. We don't usually wear these robes and the mortar boards that the graduands are wearing. We do it today because we want to remind ourselves that what we're doing here is part of a long tradition. And we step into that tradition today and remind ourselves that in other places, other classes of doctors, other classes of scholars have graduated in many, many places, and the scholarship and the tradition of the university is a rich tradition. But I would encourage you, and I must say, often the parents and friends of graduates of medicine often take less encouragement on this than others need. But I would encourage you not to be distanced by the formality of the robes. It's also a time for family and for friendship and for celebration. We'll come to a time in the ceremony when each of the graduates will come forward and be recognized by name. You'll find that that's a fairly brief moment. So if you came here with a particular person that you love or you're proud of, that person will have our collective attention for a very brief time. And that's the moment when you should express yourself. We welcome a range of forms of expression. Many of us are comfortable with polite applause. Other families have traditions that require a little more energy. We welcome all those traditions. So when it's your moment, seize it. I now invite Dr. Brian Postal, Dean of the Rady Faculty of Health Sciences and the Max Rady College of Medicine, to the podium.
Your Honors, Your Excellency, Chancellor Sector, Vice Chancellor Bernard, colleagues, families, graduates. Well, it's been a short 1,350 or so days since you began. Much as you wouldn't admit it at the time, you arrived pretty terrified. You weren't quite sure that you were where you should be or that we really knew about your capabilities, for how else could you be sitting there. First 100 days, you'll remember a little bit, were full of adrenaline and cortisol. Those two hormones you'll recognize now are hallmarks of stress. The next 100 days, you weren't quite sure of what you were being taught or why, but you were studious and worked hard to try to figure it out. And the final 100 days of that first year, you were pretty sure you really needed to be in the OR and not in the classroom. Then came second year. Suddenly you were the cool older siblings, the sage advisors to a new crop of students, pretty relaxed. It started making more sense. The synthesis began. And you thought you were in a pretty comfortable spot. Sometime in the next 100 days, the match took hold and you began to worry about what you needed to do to match into the specialty or area or place that you gave preference. And then finally, the last few days of second year, you became somewhat distraught that this was going to be your last summer off for the rest of your life, and the realization was chilling to many of you. The third year, of course, began with the same anxiety of the first year. You were now on the wards. You were pretty sure that left to your own devices, you would cause significant damage to patients. You were terrified of being on call. You didn't want the residents out of sight, and you didn't want the staff people in sight. The words most frequently heard in that roughly 200 days when you were presenting at rounds usually began with something like, "I don't know anything, but," as you presented a case, and you were very careful not to presume that you might have an opinion. Then, of course, the match took hold, and heading into fourth year, you began to feel a great deal of comfort with your clinical synthesis. The match took hold. You began to worry about exams. The match took hold. And to all of your great surprise, here you are, alive and well, and know that it went by in a blink. So you've completed the first phase. You're now undifferentiated physicians. Stem cells are like that. 2/3 of you are staying in Manitoba. 34 are entering family medicine. 9 are Indigenous graduates. But the second phase is only the beginning of other phases. You're well prepared for all of them. That's what we are attesting today. And you're well prepared because you've had wonderful teachers and because of the patients that you've seen. You should be grateful for both. Showing your gratitude is important, remembering that patients will always be your best teachers, that illness and determinants of health go together, and that our role is to serve those that need us most. In this province that predominantly includes our Indigenous neighbors and communities who have suffered enormous ill health, the results of decades of indifference, underfunding, racism, and what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has called cultural genocide. I implore you to read the TRC. It will perhaps remind us that we're not yet the country that we should be. Then do your part to fix it. You're joining a profession held in high esteem by the community and will receive the benefits that that imparts. The community that has funded the largest part of your education doesn't expect much in return. They assume competence. That's what we are here today about. They expect hard work, availability, a listening ear, an empathic heart, a gentle touch, an occasional smile. And please remember what Dr. Daniel Classen said in this address several years ago: the best way to care for patients is to care for patients. Also remember that the rewards you receive in your role aren't because you're special. That's left to your parents, families, and loved ones. They're because of the work that you do in serving patients, in furthering science, and in teaching new graduates. In the end, it's not about you. These are not entitlements. You're also entering a time of change. It's not unique. Medicine and healthcare evolves quickly and often. You will need to continue your professional development just to keep up to the huge and rapid changes in knowledge. You'll know that governments from time to time explore issues of cost and effectiveness as if they should have a role in determining whether the bang for the buck for 45% of all expenditures going to healthcare is important. Welcome that accountability, join in the effort to seek efficiencies and to improve care. Also a period where jobs don't appear to be as easily achieved as they once were. Some believe that there's a physician surplus. Others point out that physician population ratios in OECD countries are almost double ours. Also know that they pay their physicians roughly half of what you will be paid. So this is an issue. It's a delicate balance that will be part of your professional careers. Participate, think about it, and move forward with your careers with thoughtful process. There are also now something like 36 regulated health professions within our province and all provinces. There will be an increasing need to function in interdisciplinary teams and increasing evidence that that in fact does improve patient care. Embrace it. It may change what you do and how you do it, but it is inevitable and will ultimately improve care to patients. Remember, as the Vice Chancellor has said, the enormous gift to our faculty by Ernest Rady: be philanthropists, volunteer, remember your citizenship. Finally, have fun, laugh much. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Janice Filman, the Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba, and I am honored to be reading this citation today. The highest honor the Senate of a university can confer upon an individual is an honorary doctorate. At the University of Manitoba, the criteria includes distinguished achievement in scholarship, the arts, or public service. Our honorary graduate this morning is Her Excellency Sharon Johnston. Her Excellency Sharon Johnston has cast a national spotlight on mental illness. She is helping to remove a stigma that both harms and hurts. This desire to heal others goes back to when she was a child growing up in Sault Ste. Marie. Even then, she was attuned to the well-being of those around her. She would bring friends home to her mother, who was a social worker, with the hope that she would make them feel better. It's no surprise that this passion for health and wellness, along with her interest in science, came together in a career as a physical and occupational therapist. Her Excellency worked with children and began to witness and understand the very real connection between their mental health and their body's physical capacity to heal. She realized that their ability to feel the joy of a sleepover was as important in their journey to wellness as the wheelchair in which they sat. When her husband's career moved the family to Montreal, she completed her master's and doctorate degrees in rehabilitation sciences at McGill. All the while, she was helping to raise 5 young daughters. In her schooling, she worked with some of Canada's best psychiatrists at an exciting time. They were experimenting with the new concept of art therapy. Creativity was being used to navigate mental health issues, and Her Excellency came to realize the power of art. She could see how it helped people articulate emotions from deep within. She also saw a pressing need for further support for family members and co-founded Friends of the Neuro at the Montreal Neurological Institute. This volunteer group offered a sympathetic ear to patients and their loved ones coping with the effects of mental illness. When her husband, His Excellency David Johnston, accepted the role of Governor-General of Canada in 2010, she became the Vice-Regal Consort. Her Excellency uses this platform to capture the country's attention and raise awareness about the stigma of mental illness and what it can still carry. She advocates for all Canadians affected, from children to our nation's civil service. She has great empathy for the struggle of our military families and the complex challenges they face, including post-traumatic stress disorder. She encouraged the Canada Council Art Bank to install paintings and sculptures at CFB Petawawa for soldiers returning from combat. Last year, the Canadian Armed Forces appointed her Honorary Captain Navy for Military Personnel Command in appreciation of her dedication and support. Her Excellency has also brought national attention to challenges facing Indigenous communities across our country. She's witnessed the challenges of our mental health care system, especially in remote corners. The people she meets and the impactful stories they share drive her to further action. In 2012, she brought leaders together from across Canada to find solutions. She established the country's very first roundtable on Indigenous health. Her Excellency finds ways in which she can make a difference, and then she empowers others to do the same. And for that, Canada is so grateful. Mr. Chancellor, it is an honor for me to ask on behalf of the Senate of the University of Manitoba that you confer on Her Excellency Sharon Johnston the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor of this university, I admit you to the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining. Congratulations, Your Excellency, Dr. Johnston.
Your Honor, Janice, I'm the same color as my outfit here. Thank you very much for those words, very much exaggerated, but I appreciated them. Your Honors, Chancellor Sector, President Barnard, Minister Goretzin, graduates, Mesdames and Messieurs, that means your parents. We are here today to celebrate our new doctors. You are the men and women who will keep Canada a healthy nation. It is especially touching to be with you while receiving an honorary degree in the year of our 150th birthday. You won't forget your year of graduation. Je suis ravie d'être avec vous, la nouvelle génération de médecins, et de recevoir le doctorat honorifique, alors que nous célébrons le 50e anniversaire de la Confédération. Convocations are quite familiar to me. I've spent the last 40 years married to a professor, a dean, and a university president, all the same man. That in itself is an accomplishment. David and I were fortunate to grow up in Sault Ste. Marie. Northern Ontario is much like Manitoba, with large lakes, forests, and streams. Nature grounds us as it has the Aboriginal inhabitants of these areas for many centuries. Like the Sioux, Winnipeg has a large Indigenous population. There is a health crisis among our First Peoples, and I hope some among you will address this in your professional capacity. For a moment, I'd like to return to the days when I was your age. I belonged to the Woodstock generation, when everything and anything was possible. Fresh out of university, I worked as a psychiatric occupational therapist in one of those now obsolete large mental institutions. Patients were being discharged into society after long incarcerations in mental hospitals. Many of these patients, estranged from their families, became homeless and ended up in another institution, jail. Without the doctor's wise counsel, I doubt I would be standing before you whoops. There we go. Well, this is important. My working career was cut short by fast-track reproduction. We had 5 daughters in 7 years. I do not recommend this practice. Only when I look back can I find the situation amusing. I was overwhelmed, and with my husband's career soaring, I felt like a single parent. As many do, I went to a doctor for help, and I got it. Within 6 months of receiving counseling, I no longer felt anxious or angry. As important, I felt physically well, and I'd become a dedicated runner, clocking 6 miles a day, and I still run. Without that doctor's wise counsel, I doubt if I would be standing before you today. There is nothing wrong with needing psychological help. What is wrong is not asking for it. It has been serendipity to be traveling with David over the past 7 years, crisscrossing our country to learn about the many innovative approaches to treating mental health problems. We have seen great advances in the areas of homelessness, youth suicide, emerging adults, families, Indigenous people, and just about every suffering part of society. The Mental Health Commission of Canada assesses the present mental health crisis in our country as 7 million Canadians facing mental health issues at an annual cost of $50 billion. That's $4,000 a head. These statistics don't account for the disruption of individuals and families as they battle against an illness they are afraid to acknowledge. Yet we have made great strides in reducing the stigma in the military, public service, and workforce. The last 2 clerks of the Privy Council, the Office of Canada's senior public servant, have declared mental health a priority for the federal public service. Despite these positive objectives, we know that medical patients suffering mental health problems will get significantly less care than those who present with physical problems alone. As a doctor, you will be one of the most respected persons in your community. You will be a community leader. As you begin your career or go on to specialize further, I invite you to remember just 3 simple things. First, when you start your medical practice, don't hire a cranky receptionist. Find one receptive to mental health issues and who sounds welcoming. Then go out into the community to find out what mental health resources exist, or at least send a trusted member of your staff to do so. Even patients you cannot treat directly will benefit greatly when referred to people who can help them address their problem. It will take less of your time to refer a patient once to a helpful resource than to see the patient on repeat visits. Second, Socialize the issue of mental health among your peers. They too will need support. The unique stresses on those who serve in the medical professions are as great or greater than any other. Fatigue, burnout, family stress, and coping behaviors, including alcohol and drugs, are as prevalent in healthcare circles as anywhere. Be open to each other, listen to each other, support each other. The healers must heal themselves. Third and last, be honest with yourself. You are entering a profession with notoriously high demands, and yet as a medical professional, you are a precious Canadian resource that we cannot afford to see damaged. It is right and honorable to ask for help if you need it. Set a leading example by summoning the courage to seek assistance early, then learn from that experience in ways you can pass on. So there it is, just 3 bits of advice really. Where mental health is concerned, be helpful to your patients, supportive of your peers, and kind to yourself. You can't go wrong. J'ai donc 3 perles de sagesse pour vous. Lorsqu'il est question de santé mentale, donnez les conseils utiles à vos patients, soutenez vos collègues, et prenez soin de vous. Vous ne pouvez pas vous tromper en posant ces gestes. Thank you very sincerely for the honor you have given me today. I'm delighted to be in your company and proud to call you all colleagues in the pursuit of better health for all of us. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Your Honors, Mr. Chancellor, President Barnard, class of 2017, family and friends. My name is Dr. Ira Ripstein. I have the honor of being the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Medical Education, and we have some awards to present to some of our graduates. The first award, to be presented by Dr. Jillian Horton, Associate Dean for Student Affairs, is the Fairgrave Mcbain Award to a member of the graduating class having demonstrated the most genuine compassion and profound interest in caring for those in need of medical assistance. And the award goes to Tharuna Maya Abu. The Dr. Harold Popham Scholarship, presented by Dr. Elizabetta Doyle, to a graduating student with good academic standing in pediatrics who has been accepted to a postgraduate studies in pediatrics for the next academic session. And the award goes to James Blaine Johnson. The Tet Ping Yong Award in Undergraduate Surgery, which I will present to a graduating student recommended by the head of the Department of Surgery and the 4th-year clinical coordinator. And the award goes to Michael Kenneth Seaman. The Charlotte W. Ross Memorial Award will be presented by Dr. Jenna McNaught to a graduating student who has received the highest ranking in the selection process for admission to the postgraduate program in obstetrics and gynecology and who enrolls full-time in the next academic session in the postgraduate medical education program in the Faculty of Health Sciences in obstetrics and gynecology. And the award goes to Kelsey Wincher. The Katherine Classen Memorial Award will be presented by Mrs. Linda Hamilton Classen to a graduating student who is recognized by peers and instructors as having demonstrated a high level of compassion, humanism, and as having modeled a patient-centered approach to care. And the award goes to Hilary Buse. The Dr. John M. Emble Award for Excellence in Clinical Infectious Diseases will be presented by Dr. John Emble to the graduating student who has demonstrated a commitment in the field of infectious diseases and is judged to have future potential in this field. And the award goes to Mike, not Dr. yet, to Michael Onatera and Irene Chi. The Dr. William Webster Award will be presented by Dr. Krista DeLue to a graduating student who has demonstrated excellent core knowledge of anesthesia, outstanding basic anesthesia skills, and a high level of professionalism in all interaction with patients and healthcare team members, and extraordinary potential as a future physician. And the award goes to Kelsey Uminski. The Lucas Czarnecki Memorial Award, presented by Dr. Włodzimierz Czarnecki, to a graduating student ranked highly in the internal medicine selection process who has shown a commitment to the service of others through compassion, integrity, and understanding towards their needs, and who enrolls full-time in the next academic session in the postgraduate medical education program in the Faculty of Health Sciences in internal medicine. And the award goes to Carolyn Hougen. The James Walker Wood, MD, Convocation Prize in Family Medicine, which will be presented by Dr. Amanda Condon to a graduating student who has demonstrated excellence in his or her performance during the family medicine rotation and has been accepted to postgraduate resident training. And the award goes to Danielle Paradis. There are now some awards from the Manitoba Medical College Foundation. The first award is the MMCF Jack Hildes Award, which will be presented by Dr. Elske Hildes Ripstein to a member of the graduating class who most exemplifies those qualities of humanity, personal discipline, keen curiosity, scientific inquiry, social responsibility, and good citizenship, which enhance a career in medicine and advance health in the community. And the award goes to Alexandra Kuzik. The MMCF Robin Krause Human Values Convocation Prize will be presented by Dr. Amanda Condon to a graduating student who best exhibits traits inherent in the mission statement and goals of the Human Values Program. and the award goes to Shane Reitmeyer. The MMCF Paul Nera Convocation Prize in Family Medicine, which will also be presented by Dr. Amanda Condon, is presented in recognition of a student who has demonstrated excellence in his or her performance during the Family Medicine Public Health Clerkship rotation and who has been accepted to postgraduate studies in family medicine for the next academic session. And the award goes to Marshall Wiebe. The Department of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Reproductive Sciences Convocation Prize will be presented by Dr. Jenna McNaught to a graduating student with the highest academic standing in the class who has been accepted to postgraduate studies in obstetrics and gynecology for the next academic session. And the award goes to Kelsey Wincher. In your programs, you will also see a listing of awards that have been previously awarded. We will now have the passing of the sticks. So the outgoing senior stick, Joshua Palais, will present, there actually is a stick, will present the stick to the incoming MMSA President Gurmeet Sohi. Take the stick. The transfer of the honorary senior stick will be presented to the incoming faculty advisor to the Manitoba Medical Students Association, to Dr. William Libich by Dr. Aviva Goldberg.
I now invite Chancellor Harvey Sector to address convocation.
Thank you, Mr. Braun. Your Honor, Dr. Filman, Your Honor, the other Dr. Filman, Your Excellency, Dr. Johnston. It's a pleasure to be here today, along with our many distinguished guests, members of the administration, past recipients of honors, and friends of the university, to share this momentous occasion with you, the graduands, and your families. Congratulations to all of you who've received awards in recognition for your individual accomplishments, and particularly to Her Excellency Dr. Johnston on receiving a most well-deserved Honorary Doctor of Laws degree. While I always say that convocations are special occasions, this session in this year, as you've already heard, is all the more so. We're celebrating both Canada's 150th anniversary and the University of Manitoba's 140th birthday. While we celebrate our history, I'm mindful of just how much change has occurred in just the past few years. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States of America, once said that wise people have long known that in a changing world, worthy institutions can only be conserved by adjusting them to the changing times. Over 134 years, medical education in this province has developed a reputation as one of this province's most worthy institutions. A few years ago, members of all the different healthcare units at the University of Manitoba, heeding FDR's admonition, began developing plans to realize the goal of positioning the University of Manitoba as an international leader in healthcare education, training, research, and practice. That led to the creation of the College of Medicine within our new Faculty of Health Sciences. The opportunity and capacity to realize that goal was enhanced with the announcement last year of the largest gift ever received by the University of Manitoba and the renaming of the college and the faculty. Another example of the faculty's growing capacity to meet the needs of our community and its ultimate goals will be seen next month with the launch of the new Indigenous Institute of Health and Healing, the largest Indigenous education and health unit in Canada. It's often said that in addition to your degree, one of the things you take with you upon graduation is the reputation of your institution. You are the fortunate beneficiaries of a medical school and a university with an enviable reputation that was built on the contributions made by those who came before. As the President said, we're confident that many of you will do what you can to see that reputation enhanced even further by the contributions you make to the profession and to the chosen community you live in, wherever that may be. Today's honorary degree recipient is a prime example of how each of us can make a significant difference in whatever capacity we happen to find ourselves. Her career as a professional, as a volunteer, and currently as our vice-regal consort reflect what Nelson Mandela once said, that none of us should settle for a life that is less than the one we're capable of living. All of us at the University of Manitoba hope that as you reflect back on your time here, you'll feel that while you were here, you moved just a little further along the path to becoming all that you were meant to be. Congratulations and best wishes for professional careers and personal lives that are both filled with much success and satisfaction. Congratulations to all of you. Good luck.
Mr. Chancellor, it's now my honor to request on behalf of the University Senate that you confer upon the candidates the degrees earned by them, as these shall later be announced. Will those who are to receive degrees please rise?
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor of this university, I admit you to the degrees to which you are entitled, with all of the rights and privileges thereto appertaining. I also admit, in absentia, those who've completed the requirements for these degrees, but who are not today able to be present.
Will those who are in the front row please remain standing, and the rest of you may resume your seats. Mr. Chancellor, may I now present the candidate whom you have admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, with President David Barnard Hooding, the graduate, and Acting Dean Todd Mondor of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, presenting the parchment. Of course, it's Alexandra Kuzik. And now, Mr. Chancellor, may I present the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Doctor of Medicine, with Dr. Brian Postal, Dean of the Max Rady College of Medicine, presenting the parchments. Tharunamaya Abu. Shilpa Alex. Jordan Arthur Arbor. Benjamin Gideon Aronson. Yupama Banik. Bryce Cameron Barr. Margot Clark Beauchemin. Gary Joshua Bellin. Sherry Louise Belenke. Tanya Evelyn Borchers. Eileen Joanna Burnett. Jesse Burns. Kelby Cleverly. Mark William Collister. Jared John Lawrence Davies. Braden Gerald John DeBroni. Tyler Curtis Denishuk. John Bennett Doring. Amanda Ellen Donahoe. Ryan Dale John Foyle. Marcia Paige Giesbrecht. Daniel Gitterman. Sarah Lydia Griffiths. Fiona Hanlon Dearman. Scott Donald Hodson. Adam Jeffrey Hoffman. Caroline So-Young Haugen. Ingrid Yuri Haugen. Brian Warren Jansen. James Blaine Johnston. Namita Kanwar. Ian Maxwell Lerner Kasloff. Tanya Caper. Ratika Katkar. Evan Edward Kleinchar. Andrew Kochan. Kendra Dorothy Quo. Ian Bruce Laxdal. Gabrielle Ruth Shuting Leung. Jeremy Levi. Blake Robert Mackay. Caitlin Irene Mallette. Nadia Isabelle Marion. Alison Charisse Marmel. Lauren Suzanne Martins. Aaron Martin. Kilmany Melnick. Ziran Mung. Lee Manook. Ming Munikar. Paul Christopher Munns. Alexei Milnikov. Kiran Hari Mysore. Tyler William Nelson. Michael Scott Onatera. Joshua Evan Paley. Danielle Parody. Meredith Gale Penner. Michael Ashley Pereira. Jeremy David Peters. Ryan Thomas Pierce. Colleen Mary Pitzel. Michael Grant Platt. Galia Kara Pollock. Alana Marie Gayin Poon. Christy Samantha Rampersad. Shane Dennis Reitmeyer. Anas Osman Sabswari. Gitanjali Sadi. Emily Sagansky. Samuel Adams Sanders. Aminjot Singh Sandhu. Milind Saxena. Jennifer Lee Deborah Sellen. Caitlin Marie Sinclair. Joju Sohamimo. Laura Jane Duval Sutherland. Sophia Frances McDonald Sweatman. Tim Newton C. Kelsey Olivia Uminski. Nitin Wadawan. Isaac Weeb. Marshall Timothy Weeb. Evan Jonathan Weens. Kelsey Wincher. Megan Rebecca Wu. Irene Yuning Xie. Caleb Young. And now, Mr. Chancellor, may I present the candidates whom you have admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science in Medicine and Doctor of Medicine. Hilary Josephine Edie Buse. Jordan Fairfax Crosina. Kyle Justin Curtis. Mitchell David Darr. Samuel Elliott Feinblit. Roxana Andrea Foster. Thomas Sean Fudge. Conrad Joshua Gertz. Thomas Inman Hall. Samantha Faye Kimmelman. Rebecca Taylor Cummin. Alexandra Christine Kuzik. Allison J. Lee Love. James Reed Litwin. Joël Michaud. Utsama Utbi. Matthew David Charles Packer. Mohammed Ghazali Panu. Kirsten Ria Penergoki. Marina Roundtree James. Emma Ray Shawn. Michael Seaman. Youssef Nassereddin Sufi. Kevin Daniel Stockwell.
We'd welcome all physicians to participate. You ready? Now being admitted to the profession of medicine, I solemnly pledge to consecrate my life in service of humanity. I will give respect and gratitude to my deserving teachers. I will practice medicine with conscience and dignity. The health and life of my patients will be my first consideration. I will hold in confidence all that a patient confides in me. I will maintain the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession. My colleagues will be my brothers and sisters. I will not permit consideration of race, religion, nationality, party politics, or social standing to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect of human life. Even under threat, I will not use my knowledge contrary to humanity. These promises freely and upon. Thank you. We can now call up Dr. Abu for the valedictory address.
Crying already. I thought he meant my dad. Hi. To President Bernard, our deans, distinguished guests, esteemed faculty and staff, dearest friends and family, and of course, my fellow classmates. I am so honored to take this stage on such an auspicious morning. On behalf of the class of 2017, I thank you all for making the time, and for some of you, traveling great distances in order to celebrate with us. I'd also like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to my co-valedictorians, Sam Sanders and Irene Z, two incredibly kind and deserving individuals. I'd like to thank the speakers who came before me for acknowledging that we are on Treaty 1 territory. I feel that I don't need to say any more about that, but I hope that in our work moving forward as physicians, we honor these people and this land in the work that we do here, and that is deeply important. And today is a day of celebration. The class of 2017 indeed has so much to celebrate. We began this journey 4 years ago as strangers, an odd collection of awkward science geeks, a professional poker player, talented musicians, mothers and fathers, and at least a few engineers who had finally seen the light. Today, we move forward as a family bonded by blood and pus and placenta. Way too much placenta. Over the last 4 years, we've grown immensely. We would not have so successfully done so without the support of our families, friends, partners, and mentors. We're privileged to have been also shaped by the unique and challenging experiences of this discipline. In the classroom, for example, we've had the chance to learn from the best of the best. Everything from Dr. Soni's excellent lectures on heart murmurs to Dr. Bernstein's Tour de France of the kidney. We'll cherish these pearls of wisdom for the rest of our careers. When we are faced with ethical dilemma, the teachings of Dr. Pauls will swim to mind, and despair will give way to the encouragement of Dr. Horton. At all times, I'm sure that we'll remember the eternal words of Dr. John Emble, that nothing is what it seems. And if you look closely enough, everything is covered in poop. So wash your hands, please. And while med school did foster a collective loathing for the question, so what do you do for fun? We cannot forget all that we learned through good times together. As the Ledwan family could attest to, we've impressively challenged the limits of physics and reasonable household rules. My apologies for destroying your house, but thank you for the samosas. Speaking of food, our camaraderie has never proved stronger than those times when we'd run for free lunches that may or may not have actually been for our class. As a group, we've also embraced our CanMed role of being leaders. We frequently engage in community outreach at such venues as The Pint and the King's Head Pub, giving first-hand demonstrations of dysarthric speech and cerebellar dysfunction. Above all, we have learned from each other. Shilpa Alex and Marshall Wiebe, for example, taught us how to be kind on a daily basis. The Haugen sisters taught us compassion, while the Ians demonstrated what true friendship looks like. And we may never be as brilliant or as humble as Bryce Barr, but coming to terms with our mediocrity is a success in itself. When it comes to smiles, James Litwin and Sherry Belenke taught us how to be generous. When it comes to t-shirts, Yusuf Sufi taught us that there is no such size as too small. And Paul Munns, who packs a lunch for his wife every day, will forever be #bagels. And Paul, I can explain that pop culture reference to you later if you need. From Margot Beauchemin, we've learned how to infuse passion into everything we do and harnessed courage in the face of adversity from Shane Reitmeyer. And every single day, Marina Roundtree James, Roxana Foster, Namita Kanwar, Mike Plett, and Isaac Wiebe have proved that real-life superheroes do exist. They just sometimes go by the name of Mom and Dad. These are but a few of the many experiences and teachings that we will call upon as we move into this next chapter of our lives. My dear classmates, my friends, remember that you are not the same people that you were 4 years ago. Residency, too, will change you. Allow it to do so, because in this work that we do, we cannot afford to stand still. Beyond the academic, please always allow your hearts to be moved. Bend to grief when the patient who reminds you of your grandfather passes in the middle of the night. Roll with laughter when the infant you're examining pees on your favorite shoes. Rise with integrity when you witness injustice, and extend your hand in kindness over and over and over to those whose humanity has been forgotten. Our futures hold so much promise. I am so excited to see how each one of our lives will unfold. I know that we represent the changing face of the physician, and I know that we will continue to prove ourselves innovators, advocates, and curators of this art of medicine. For everything that you have done and everything that you are, my friends, I could not be more proud of any group of individuals. My deepest and most deserved congratulations to you, the class of 2017. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Your Honors, Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, guests and graduates. Congratulations. Today, as you set to carve your own path, I hope each of you finds inspiration from alumni who have gone before you and demonstrated that from here, you can go anywhere. If you aspire to be a life-changing healthcare professional, consider the work of alumnus Charles Burns, the father of Canada's trauma system, or Edward Lyons, Distinguished Alumni Award recipient, who helped to make ultrasound one of modern medicine's most widely used diagnostic tools. Whoever you become, wherever you go, our community of University of Manitoba alumni is here to support you, and I encourage you to stay connected. With more than 137,000 graduates in over 138 countries, we are always available to inspire, encourage, advise, and strengthen your career. It is alumni like you who put our university front and center, who will inspire future generations of students. We look forward to celebrating all that you will accomplish. Welcome to our alumni community, and congratulations on your graduation. Thank you.
That brings us to an end of our formal ceremony. So it's my privilege to declare convocation to be in recess. And I would ask that members of the audience and visitors, please remain in your seats for the departure of the platform party and the graduates. Thank you.